No, it's actually not 1978 anymore, and I'm also not an American teenager sitting inside a '58 Plymouth Fury. It's a 280 SE, Mercedes-Benz of course, that is. And this car is a variant of the popular W108 model series that was manufactured between 1965 and 1972 by the German car manufacturer Mercedes-Benz, as it's actually called in German. And I don't actually know in which year this car was built, and that is because it is not mine, but it belongs to a friend. Or actually, his father bought it back in the 80s, I guess, and he had it standing in this garage since the mid of the 1980s, so at this point that's over 30 years. And, well, what he did back in the day, I guess he tried to fix this car and get it on the road again, but he never really pulled through with his plans. So this car was stuck here and now it's in very poor condition. And I think it's beyond the point of no return really. But we'll take a closer look under the car today and under the hood. And I'm pretty sure that many of the viewers will agree that this car cannot be repaired anymore by any reasonable means. But well, let's just see what you have to say about that. So let's have a look at the interior first before we come to the really important stuff. You can see that the wooden parts and the dashboard overall seems to be okay. So here we have a letter from a health insurance company to my landlord who owns this car, and it's dated 1984. So that would be, I guess, about the last time that he worked on the car. The leather and the fabric parts of the seat and inside the doors though seem to have quite a lot of rot and are generally quite filthy. But most importantly, ashtrays on both rear doors and a lot of chrome wherever possible. And the doors do open and close just normally, the seals seem to be okay. You can also still open and close the windows just fine. But that's about it as far as good news go here. So let's have a look at the front of the car, and obviously the fenders are in horrible condition, but there are actually two fenders in much better condition up in the attic. And we'll take a look at those parts and all the other replacement parts that are stored up there later in this video. The chrome-plated frame of the right headlights is not attached to the car anymore, but it's lying here somewhere. On the left side is still attached to the car, but as you can see the chrome on the frame is kinda corroded. The same is true of course for the chrome on the radiator grille. And see man, the Mercedes is even missing its star. That can't be a good sign. And down here you can see that on the bumper, that is of course also chrome plated, we have a lot of corrosion as well. Well, and even if though this car most probably will never see the light of day again, we might just as well take a closer look under the hood and learn something about the technology that was used back in the day in a Mercedes of this type. This is a straight 6, a 6-inline engine, in German 6-Zylinder-Reihenmotor, with an aluminium valve cover, Ventildeckel, sitting on a cast iron engine block. Here it says Zündfolge, and that simply means firing sequence for the 6 cylinders. Here we have the air filter leading to the intake manifold, in German Ansaugkrümmer. And directly under it, this rusty part is the exhaust manifold, in Germany called Abgaskrümmer. And here you see these weird tubes leading from the individual combustion chambers to this device here sitting on the other side of the engine. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, a mechanical injection system, in German called mechanische Einspritzpumpe. So in other words, this was a stock car entering the market in 1965 with a mechanical injection pump instead of a carburetor, which must have been quite a novel feature at the time. But I found out that there are also similar models from the beginning of the 1970s that even had electronic injection systems already. Other than that, you will find many familiar parts in here, like a mechanical distributor, oil filter, a place where the car battery would sit, a brake booster, and so on. But of course, a look under the hood also revealed that, sad but true, not only the fenders, but also the car's chassis has considerable corrosion damage. And here we can have a look at the side of the fenders and also on the tires. I actually put some pressure on those a couple of days ago and actually seemed to keep the air inside. But as you can see, there's rust everywhere here. And yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm by no means an old-timer expert or anything, but there are a lot of spots that have rusted through. Under the underbody coating, you rarely find blank metal. I mean, it just falls off and there is even more rust under there. And I mean, there are some parts that are still very rigid and that I cannot penetrate with the screwdriver. But I would say this is a pretty bad case. So it's all kind of sad, but let me show you some more shots from under the car, especially the rear axle, the silencers, and the front axle. And I'm sure that a lot of you, experts or not experts, will think the same, that this car is beyond reasonable repair. And just let me repeat that again. This is not my car, it belongs to my friend, whose parents own this house actually. And the thing is that this car is clogging up my garage. I cannot use the space for anything else because this car has been standing here for 30 years. Now, I like an old Mercedes just like the next guy, but I really would like to get rid of this. So maybe you guys could tell him in the comments that this car is nothing but a heap of scrap, if that is what you're thinking at least. And maybe that could help him with the decision to one day get rid of it, you know. You see, and it's all so sad and so stupid, because, you know, there is a classic Mercedes, and there is a replacement axle sitting behind it, and there is this brake booster here, and this transmission, and all this other stuff you see in this bucket, and there is much more up in the attic, and we'll see that in just a minute. And, you know, if you could just live with the dream that one day these parts would be used to restore at least some Mercedes, or maybe this Mercedes if it would still be possible. I don't know, I don't think so. But, you know, if anything would happen with this family is sitting on these parts on this car for 30 years, they're not using it, they will never sell it, you can forget that, and there's probably never ever going to happen anything with it. Okay, so we're on the attic now, and as you can see, this is just another room that is in a total mess and has been for a couple of decades, and it's actually the last space really in the house that I haven't cleaned up so far, and I guess I never will, because, well, let's just say that the landlords haven't been exactly grateful for me cleaning up the basement and my workshop and so on. And you can see that among all this clutter here and the old cardboard boxes that are lying here, or have been lying here for 40 years or so, there are car parts from different vehicles, I guess, all over the place. Here you can see an old alternator, I guess that's a Mercedes-Benz, and windshield wiper motor, and I guess that's another alternator. Some parts from an old air filter. And over there you can see different engine parts, exhaust manifolds, and different parts from different engines, I guess. But maybe I will sift through that one day and see what we actually have there. But more obvious are the large parts that you can see here. What we have is an original hood for the Mercedes W108. Also here we have trunk cover. It says 280S automatic. Guess it should fit on the car standing in the garage. Then we have an old crankshaft. Also bumpers, a windshield and a rear window, radiator grille and a radiator, also parts of the steering system. And here we have the replacement fenders. So these parts are certainly not new, but in much better condition than what we saw earlier today, right? But what is going to happen next with the car and with these parts? Well, most probably nothing at all, just like in the last 30 years. And I hate to tell you this, but there are dark places in this world where good things are just left to rot and die. And nobody's ever going to do anything about it. Just as I'm not going to do anything about this because it's not my stuff. And I hate to leave you on a somber tone like this, but well, sometimes things just don't make sense. But I still hope that you liked that I shared this with you, and to see you soon.